Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we should be going live. We are live now on Facebook. We're live now on YouTube, Periscope, and LinkedIn. Hi, everyone.
Hey there.
You're seeing the techniques behind the camera as we turned on individual channels simulcasting. My name is Lauren Gray, host or moderator of the weekly live show This Week in Hospitality Marketing. With me is one of my other esteemed co-hosts, Kat Mohammed. I'm not going to say your whole name. Stick with Kat, it would be safe. Who is the Director of Education with AHOA. Also with me is Steve. I'm sorry, Steve. I'm not even going to try your last name because I can't remember even if you just told me a minute ago.
Wolfenbarger.
Wolfenbarger. Thank you. The power behind the throne. Okay, where Kat goes down, she's that person. Steve's the power behind the throne. He's an and also with us is Quinn Rogers, who's actually, I don't know much about Quinn other than you talk very highly of him all the time as to all the crazy stuff he does and everything. And it's a pleasure to have you also with us, Quinn, who also works with AHOA. Well, actually, by the way, Quinn, since we have the chance, what do you do? I mean, how'd you get him mixed up with this motley crew?
It's the best crew at the AHOA department.
Yeah,
started working with them. We do a lot of good stuff. Now with all this COVID-19 going on, we've been working really hard to get as many webinars out as possible. So it's a pleasure to be on this cast with you. I actually got started because my dad works in hospitality, so he helped me kind of get into this whole segment. And
nice.
I like doing it.
Excellent.
Very kindly put. Quinn is the son of Chip Rogers, president and CEO of AHLA, former president of AHOA, but he brings such an interesting perspective to things, one from the luxury of hearing his dad speak on these different topics, but also from a young, youthful person's perspective of what the real world is and having ambitions and great big dreams. It's refreshing.
Well, that's kind of a legacy to follow behind. Good gosh, yeah, you're probably born up in hospitality, right?
Yeah.
Right?
No escaping it. You're a part of the. Yes, it's a family tradition.
I'm locked into it now.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
So one of the cool things, a reason why we're doing this, obviously, is a prelude to tomorrow's show. We have the very, very unique and privileged opportunity to have three presidents together, three literally representation of, if not the majority, almost the inclusiveness of the entire hospitality industry as we know it. With us is Mr. Bob Gilbert with HSMAI, President and CEO. Also with us will be Dr. Cecil Staton, which is the President and CEO of AHOA. And then Gwen, your dad. No, I'm sorry. Which I had to realize I kept calling Chip because that's all I've known. I had to look up his full name when I put it on the roster. I'm like, wait a minute, it's not really Chip. Chip's just the actor, the nickname kind of thing. So, but President and CEO of AHLA, which we will have first time on the show. So it'll be a chance to hear from all three of them. And we wanted to take this chance with you guys, especially since you were the orchestrators of this chaos. And I sincerely appreciate that you were able to coordinate this madness of because with everything that's going on, these guys are incredibly squirrel, they're everywhere. And they're probably inundated with conversations and calls and follow-ups, and because they're from the top position. I mean, they're looking down into what needs to get done. So to have them on the show together and hear from their individual association perspectives, which are uniquely different, will be a privilege. So with that in mind, what do you think is going to be some of the things that they're going to be pointing towards? We want to know more about what AHOA is doing, obviously, since we have the opportunity to talk to you right now. But also, what do you think, from the perspective of what AHLA is doing, how all these things going on with the government issues and advocacies that you're doing and so forth. So this is a chance kind of us to loosely just talk about what we think is going to be things that are going to be topically driven tomorrow. Kat?
Right? Jump right in. So definitely on the advocacy front, we definitely anticipate hearing way more on that. AHLA are leaders on that for the hospitality industry, with AHOA very closely next to them. So on advocacy, we will definitely hear more about the SBA loans, what's going on there, the stimulus package or the CARES Act, and we hope that there's actually a vote and a great update that we'll be able to offer on the show tomorrow. But just the different to either provide relief in some way or maybe reduce some of the regulations or fines right now that go along with different due dates, fees, fines, things like that. But that's a huge one we anticipate hearing more about. And of course, what both all three associations are doing on the education front. Recently, AHLA had reached out to kind of partner with us more on some of our webinars and our educational offerings. And on the topic of education, I'll turn over to Steve. As Lauren mentioned, he is definitely the power behind the throne. I refer to Steve as my left and right hand. I'm not sure I can breathe properly without him. So there's my intro for you, sir.
Well, thank you, Kat. We definitely are working on a lot of different topics and situations for members. We recently did one on SBA. We recently did one on how to coach. I mean, you may not think that that's something you need to be doing right now, but you do need to keep your staff motivated. You need to keep communicating to them to keep them informed of what is going on and what you are doing to try to keep afloat. So we have a lot of speakers in the pipeline, and we're constantly reaching out to industry experts to try and get more information out to the members in a timely manner. So that's what we're doing right now. You can go out to our COVID-19 resource page on ahoa.com, and you'll see all of the webinars, all of the industry leaders that have allowed us to link to their information. So we're trying to put as much out there as possible.
Yeah, we recently did a release with your brands on royalty fees, which is another area I anticipate hearing more about on the show. What AHOA is doing AHLA with the brands, because that is a huge pain point right now. But it leaves room for opportunity for both sides to step up. So definitely more on that. And I wanted to, if you wouldn't mind, I wanted to ask Quinn a question, because Quinn has been helping from behind the scenes with some of the research, putting together presentations, and also sitting in on some of the presentations. COVID overall changed from you as a young person to where it is now, from when we first started this up maybe a week ago to where it is now? Have you had a shift in your thought towards it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when this whole thing started coming to America, I really didn't think too much of it. I just thought it's just kind of another like flu epidemic, like we have swell up every 2-3 years. Then I realized how much it's actually really affecting our industry, and how, especially because it came up around the spring break period, how much our industry relies on that sort of transportation and travel, especially in the more like coastal regions of America, that they rely on that so much. And now that didn't happen, it's really kind of hurt our industry a lot. And I hope that as we see the stimulus package going forward tomorrow, maybe it'll help remedy some of that. And I know when summer starts coming around, yes, travel will pick up a bit, but as of now, it's really hurt our industry.
I got to chime in on a couple of things that I want to be not placating too much tomorrow to the gentlemen that were instrumental to all this, but considering the environment that Washington is in right now, and that this is the largest stimulus package ever created in our history. And tonight it's a recovery package, whatever way you want to call it. The amount of lobbying that is going on, the everyone's jumping in to try to say their say and so forth. It is a very thankful thing to have AHOA and AHLA, because they have never been more critical to making sure the voice is there. Because even though knowing that as an industry we're being heard and seeing it in the news being heard, the politicians are only hearing the voices closest to their ears. And you have all these lobbyists that are asking for everything from save the whales to save the ducks to save everything. And you have all these things going on. And I don't mean to be trite about it in that sense, but just, there's so many voices. There's such a chorus and discord of people asking for so many things. Having the strong advocacy that we have in both organizations has been probably one of the most acritical aspects of making sure that the issues that are core to our recovery are addressed, not just placated or tossed over or subsidized with other categories and so forth and so on, that there's actual legitimate specificities that are being offered to our industry because of the advocacy that has been represented from there. And I'm not taking anything from HSMAI, because HSMAI on the other end of this is being supportive and helpful to everybody in the industry that is affected, and is doing just as you all are, in the sense of offering legitimate content out. that says, this is what you should be thinking, this is what you should be doing, this is how you can do the following things. So it's kind of wonderful to see that solidarity of collaboration, that for each association's strengths, they're doing the best they can for their memberships and doing the best they can for the industry. It goes back to where, you look back and say, well, why should I have been a member? Why do I have to pay dues? Why do I have to, I'm running a hotel or I own a hotel. What do I need to be participating in? Here you go. Here's the example.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Last week alone, AHOA members collectively sent over 21,000 letters to elected officials voicing their stories and their demands right now, what they need for relief. So that's pretty amazing. That's a strong leg that we're standing on right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes,
very much so. And it goes again also to where you need clarity of voice. We were joking earlier before we first started doing the broadcast live. There's so much white noise. It's like people all of a sudden discovered, I have a webcam. Click. Let me talk to you about what I think is the truth. And you got all this white noise of dialogue. And Quinn, I think you've been a contributor to the success of the honesty of the information, as what you've constructed within what you're offering. That here's the truth of what's going on. Here's the truth of what you can do. Here's the truth of what's being done. More so than I happen to have a social media opinion. Last week I was a real estate investor. Now I'm a COVID-19 authority. You have these people that are all over the board with what they think they know. And it is mind-numbing, the dialogue, the white noise that's out there. So you have to go to the associations as the point of truth, knowing that what they're providing is accurate, is back to the traditional days, verified, and that it's being used industry experts to collaborate with. So, again.
Absolutely. I'll say one of the things that has been really helpful is there are a lot of partners that have been stepping up and reaching out to us saying, hey, we know that there's a huge issue with, ABCD, if it's property taxes reassessing or, just the brand loyalty fee relief. But they're coming to us and saying, hey, we know a lot on this subject. Let us help you. We're also reaching out to folks, but any of our speakers serve as resources, and you'll find that we aren't trying to, like you said, learn the information and act as though we are the experts. We're going to the experts, and they're the ones giving these updates and then also serving as a resource.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if I may add to that, Lauren, if you don't mind, to add to what Kat was just saying is during the Q&A, during the webinars, their ability to provide that information when those honest questions are coming through, you can hear the hurt in them, these owners, and their suffering. And these speakers are truly giving answers to them and telling them what they know and sharing best practices. And if they don't know, saying, please reach out to me. I will find out an answer for you. And it's a genuine situation.
The other amazing part of this too is that, and this goes again to the testament of early decisions and so forth, is that the information I know from a horse perspective, just my eyes, is that and now being universal is it's being put in front of the condition of the relationship. You're not saying got to be a member. And it's changed in scope because as this rolls out, at first it was like, okay, and to your point, your point, I was like saying, hey, we just thought this was going to be a flu. It's going to be something that affects some people, not to where we're shutting down states and countries,
Right.
and to be forward rolling and saying, well, let's make this usable, functionable, and helpful, and worry about whether there's a payment involved, future tense. Let's be what we aspire, which is the associations have all come together and say, look, let's help the industry. Let's make sure that we can help all the aspects of what we represent in such a way that they will appreciate the fact that they're a part of that process. They're a part of that organization. And that's been probably the nicest rallying cry of all this, because brands, they're business. And nobody's bomb-boying right now. And so, they're not built for these type of things. You have a lot of hotel ownerships that are looking for resources that are useful and functional rather than just, possibly, well, we'll get back to it when business goes back to normal. So, and I'm not trying to bash brands. I mean, we all got caught in positions we never expected to be in, doing things we never expected to have to do. So to throw rocks at anybody is only to have them come back and bounce off our own heads, because nobody had a book on a shelf that said, in case of when this happens, do exactly all these things.
Would've been nice.
Yeah. I mean, even when we started looking at what those who went through 9/11, we're like, oh, well, it's beyond even the scope of what we had in 9/11. Before, we were still hunting for business because we were allowed to. We're not allowed to. We're told not to, and that's different, because that means, what do we do now to sustain our sustainability, our ability to function, which is why the government has to be the government and help us. And that's why the advocacy is so critical. And then what we do afterwards with what we're given the opportunity to do with. So the next few weeks, and not that the past few weeks have been any easy, but the next few weeks will be a process also. And right now we think, oh, we're almost to the bottom. We might realize we were right or we're wrong, but either way, each week is going to be a unique experience for all of us. So yeah, in that sense, but it is a privilege to think that we can have The Voice come onto the show, and I know that all of them know, but they're always open to use whatever audience we have. Our audience has really grown since all this has started. Substantive, a lot, and can't get the word out. So knowing that they can come back and still address that audience as things progress, and making sure that they can communicate. I know that they know that, but that it's always going to be an open door for them in that sense. It also has inspired other organizations and companies that can influence things on a large scale to consider coming on as well, so that they can maybe help and support and participate. Just like we see companies retooling what they're doing, it is nice to see a lot of the vendor society gather and say, what can we do to help? Not what can we do to charge you for, but what can we do to help for those who have the resources to help with. So to that, I can only thank, up to this point, your association for having made that actually happen, because, we brought UNHSMI, and then the CHIP, his, contribution tomorrow will only augment that even farther, where people are realizing that they should get out and get their voice and see what they can do to help. So in that end, good stuff. Anything else you think is, I'm not expecting quote, quote, surprises or revelations or, stand on soapbox conversation, but what do you think it's going to be like to have all three of them on the same screen? I mean, two of them know each other really well. Don't get me wrong. Actually, all three of them probably know each other probably more than we want to know, but, being in a public forum, all three on the screen, what do you think? Do you think it's going to? Hopefully, they smile. It's going to be tough. They represent so much. You can't crack a joke, because people are going to jump on them like, "What are you laughing at a time like this?" But by the same token, they're as human as the rest of us, and they're facing the same stresses as the rest of us, and they're more responsible for more stuff than the rest of us. And they're all going to be on the same screen.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just stopped. I just
Okay,
stopped
there we
talking.
go. Oh, there we go. Oh, I imagine that it'll be really hopeful and inspiring. HLA has their Hotels for Hope program or campaign that they're running to try and get the hotels more involved on a state and local level, and also to get hotels to see if they'll volunteer their properties to medical relief efforts right now. But I think all of them coming together, and it's crazy. Today on a call with Anthony Malchiori, we have a presentation tomorrow actually with him, a webinar. He had mentioned that the hotel industry was like an accordion that was fully open, and now it has closed where everything is tight and together. And he said it has put everybody on the same playing field, where we're all experiencing a lot of the same hardships, from the owner to the housekeeper. Both need to pay their mortgages. So that is essentially what we will have tomorrow on the show, is that closed accordion, and everybody is on the same playing field. They're still fighting for a common purpose. So I think folks can get behind that. It doesn't matter which path you're coming from, it leads to the same one, and we all want to move forward. So those are my thoughts.
I agree with you. Quinn, you see it from my perspective that I know I don't, because I look at, I always used to love hiring people that never worked in the industry. Not that you haven't been in the association with the industry, but when I used to run hotels, I loved hiring people that never worked in hotels, because being tainted working in it, when I walk up to a front desk and there's nobody behind it, I look at my watch and say, oh yeah, it's shift change. This always had a reason, because I understood the mechanics of guests see it as, where's the staff? And so people new to the industry, they always kept the purity of the guest-centric thing. Well, you're seeing this from a perspective of, you've been associated with it by all your life, but here you are being asked to gather data and help make sense of chaos and be supportive of things to people that are skilled but don't know what the answer is to stuff. How do you see it from your perspective?
Well, when you're outside the industry, you see a hotel, you see a Marriott, you think, oh, it's corporately run, they have a ton of money, they're going to be able to keep up with the supply during this downturn. But really, it's a small business. Each hotel is individually run by its own owner. Like, sure, it says Marriott on the top, or Hilton, or Choice, but it's not run by them. It's run by a small business owner, and that's why it's really hurting them so much. So that's why they're struggling as much as, like Kat said, the housekeeper. Like, each person in the industry is struggling right now. Mm-hmm. So I think tomorrow, having all our big leaders on will really showcase how our industry is strong and how we'll make it through this.
Yeah. I do hope in that sense, and we will make it through it. It is a cycle of things. It's not going to be a forever thing, and it'll change and morph into different things, but it will be not the same, that's for sure. So, and we will. There's some amazing articles coming from some very talented people and within our industry as well, as to the perspective shift that our industry is going to face. Different normalities that would come out of this, that we just don't go back to turning the lights on and, okay, we weathered that storm. We're really turning the lights on to a new, different world of stuff. And more so than ever, the leadership that we're going to have on the show tomorrow is going to be helping steer that course, because they will be the representation and voice of many people that, based on the focus of each of the associations, will have a means of collaborating what they envision is moving forward. So, if you want to, Quinn, I was going to ask you, do you have any links, anything you guys want to share off to the chat side that will go up? And because this replay will have them in the side. So any of your resources from your main page, I know everything, the cool part with Aho is everything's on your front page. Boom, you go right there and see it. HSMA, same thing. HLA, I apologize, Quinn, I haven't looked yet to see whether or not what is where for it. I was going to do that today in prep for tomorrow's call, as to where they can find things and so forth. But I know that there's lots of resources, and you guys have done a great job putting stuff together.
Thank you. And just wanted Steve, I don't know if you want to chime in and offer any insight for tomorrow and what you think it will help accomplish.
No, I think you guys have hit on everything that I think they will hit on, and it'll be great. So we will help everyone through this, and they'll offer some great feedback to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Steve, it's nice to have you on, seeing the face on the Power of the Throne, not just the shadow, seeing the green curtain, the Man of Oz. Yeah. You're out of the dark. Quinn, same thing. I keep hearing about all this. Well, Quinn's doing that. Quinn's doing this. I'm like, who's Quinn?
Yeah.
There's a whole AHOA team. For anybody listening in, the webinars we're producing, we've had over 2,000 attendees to our webinars. But what we do, this is the entire team that produces.
That's the most amazing part. I'm sorry, I just got to smile about this. It's like, you think all the stuff that's going out with you guys, like there's an army of people, there's a room full of cubicles, papers, well, not papers anymore, but stuff's flying, and it's like, nope, this is it.
This is
it. And then considering that you just came off of the fact that you had to go through the whole relocation and rescheduling of the conference. So you guys are also all of it in the educational process of the conference. Yep. And that was all mainstream piling it through. And then you had to take that, put it all on the shelf. Not that it's gone away because you rescheduled it for later. And then you have to do the retention, the reorganization, the attrition, okay, now that we've lost that speaker, we have to replace that speaker. All that's still hanging out there. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you got all this to do.
And HX is still currently on course as well, which we help co-host.
So when do you sleep? Oh, never mind. Okay.
Let's sleep.
Right?
As long as you don't sleep, you're all good. So all right. We saw the links off to the side for those that may not or cannot read. This is, if you want to go to find it just at the main part of it, go to AAHOA.com. You'll see the links to their advocacy and disaster preparedness. What is the link for AHLA? I'm sorry, again, I did not come into this prepared for the AHLA aspect of where to point to. Is there a link that we can share about AHLA or what it is that they can contact AHLA for?
On their site now, I'm going to copy paste their coronavirus resources.
Okay, and I'm going to put in HSMAI's, which you go to the front main page, same thing, which is www.hsmai.org. And there you can go and follow through with what it is that they have on.
Okay, beat me to
it. That's quick.
That's very quick.
Excellent. All right. Well, with that in mind, if they want to reach out to you and ask more questions directly or indirectly, is there any what information add or where is it they can reach out to you?
We're ending on this. Felix just said hello.
You can send it to info@AHOA, or you can send it to one of the three of us. We will get it.
It's okay.
Okay.
I wanted to just share for a second. This is Mr. Felix Ahmed.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Oh,
Felix.
man.
I heard a lot about you.
I heard a lot about you.
Actually, all of you, actually. How you guys doing in this tough time?
Doing
well.
Yeah, doing his best could be done for it. I've been teasing Kat that she needs to bug you about when this all goes past. You got to bring her to Paris.
I'm down with that. Absolutely.
You just got to bring her to Paris. Okay? Just bring her to Paris.
Tell me, is it going to be on your expense? Because I'm okay with that.
I'll find some credit card.
He's way loud. Might have a direct forward. I wanted to introduce Felix because he is actually at the forefronts right now. He works with Mellow Mushroom, and it's considered one of the businesses that are able to stay open. So they are shut down for any in-room dining, but they're doing takeout, and it's really a day-to-day process of figuring out what is the right step in business. So I just wanted to introduce him and say to the world, you know, there are still folks out there working day-to-day and interacting and potentially getting exposed themselves for the sake of still servicing the community.
Right now, it's very tough times for especially the restaurant business. You know, so right now we are actually like there is consideration of trying to close and all that stuff, but I'm against closing right now. As long as we keep taking our precautions, we're distancing ourselves from the customers and everything, I think we still can provide something for the customers because there is not a whole lot left out there for people.
No,
you know. No. And I'm gonna keep going until I can breathe, until I can go to Paris, like you said.
Well, you make a good point.
I can't wait to be on your show as well.
Well, you need to be. Good gosh, you're always welcome. You always know that. Come over and talk because I come from food and beverage restaurants, used to own them. So I'm all like, hey, come on in. We'll talk all day long. We'll be good.
You know what I'll be talking about. Absolutely. Guys, it's a pleasure. And thank you for everything you guys doing. Everybody here, you guys are doing an awesome job. Keep up the good work. And
thank you.
Well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. You make a great point because right now I'm finding out that, you know, some cities that are closed because they've decided to close, airline crews, which are called essential, have no place to stay. And then, you know, I think Kat froze, but yeah. Good froze picture, though. They're smiling. It's a good froze picture. But yeah, so there is still cracks in what needs to be done and so forth, that logistically there's still issues and so forth. I have one hotel that's actually reaching out to their city and offering themselves up, just like Kat was pointing out, what you guys have already talked about, where there may be a need for people to be quarantined or self-quarantined because of their size and capabilities. So there's lots of stuff. And not that'll be addressed on tomorrow's show with the gentleman that we have, because that's minutia, that's logistics, but more afterwards we'll have those kind of conversations as well. Hey, Kat, you froze for a second, but it was a great frozen picture. It was a great frozen picture. You both were smiley happy.
Oh, good. You said it froze on us both, like smiling and happy.
It was perfect. But anyways, took a lot of your time. Thank you. Appreciate it. Way longer than I expected. And I sincerely appreciate the time for it. And we got the connections and links. Look forward to everyone tomorrow being on the show. If you want to register, let me put this in for tomorrow's show. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/HDM show 242. Is it? Or 243? 243. Got mind blank. Hold on.
Oh, I think I have your show. It's 242.
Yep, it is 242. Yep, don't want to go too ahead of myself. 242. You know what it is I have to make all the shows ahead of time. So I get blurred out as to what one's the newest one versus the one I just had to create to be ahead of the curve. So here is the link for those who want to sign up and register for the show tomorrow to be directly on this platform. You obviously can watch us simulcasted on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Periscope, multiple pages on Facebook, multiple pages in Twitter, multiple pages on YouTube, but only one LinkedIn, unfortunately. LinkedIn only lets us simulcast on one platform. So it'll be Lauren Gray's, my LinkedIn one, unless we find a better platform for distribution for it. So anyway, thank you all so very much. Appreciate your time. See everyone tomorrow. Quinn, pleasure to meet you. Steve, always great to see you.
See you guys.
Thank you guys for showing up for me. Thank you.
Sure
Bye,
thing.
everybody.
Bye.